I told her that she needed to tell me the truth or we are done. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Aura Zone Stories. Today we have a story where this woman having an affair with a man whose age is 30 plus years than her. Let's see what happened when her husband found all of these. My fiancé and I have been engaged for 2 years and have been dating for around 4 years. We have 2 beautiful children. One is 2 years and the other is around 3 weeks old. So right at the beginning of our relationship, she was still talking to some guy and she was sending dirty pictures too. I found out by looking at her Snapchat, and she promised it was over and said it would never happen again. She gave me her login info and said I could look whenever I wanted to. I believed her and told her that it could never happen again, because cheating is a very strong line that I don't cross. I will try to keep this short, but I logged on to her Snapchat and she was talking to a guy and sending dirty pictures and videos that had me in it, that we strictly made for our eyes only. So I confronted her about it, and she denied it up until I told her I looked at her Snapchat. I left for about 5 hours and she changed her password to Snapchat. I told her that I wanted to see the messages with the guy again. So after a while she eventually gave me her Snapchat login again. She said she ended up with him and blocked him and unfriended him and that it was over. And when I logged into her Snapchat, I saw a conversation with her cousin that was not there before. So I opened it and she confessed everything to this girl, saying she cheated on me for 8 months. How she says she wished she felt regret but doesn't. She says she does love me and I'm the father of her children, but she loves this guy too. She told her it was the best bedroom activity of her life. And this guy she talked to every single day, either in person or on the phone. So I eventually go and talk to her back in person, and I ask her just to tell me the truth. I told her that she needed to tell me the truth or we are done. At this point she doesn't know I saw her messages with her cousin. So she feeds me a complete made-up story. I mean, nothing adds up except for it being 8 months. So after an hour and a half of talking, I stand up and I tell her we're over and we're done and she needs to move out. I also find out more about him. My fiancé is 19 years old and the guy is 53 years old, at least 10 years older than her mom. He is a convicted felon for 3 DUI and just a whole bunch of other things on this record. So right now I'm just at a loss. I would like to stay together for my kids, and she claims she would like to go to counseling, but I just don't know if counseling can fix something like this. She also said to her cousin that she could made up her way through counseling to try to get me back. So I just don't know if she is truly wanting to change, or if she just wants to fool me. I love her, I truly do, but I don't know if I could forgive something like this. I would like to say I could, but I don't know if I could. I just feel so very betrayed, and it makes my stomach turn every time I think about her talking like that about someone else. And I don't even know if my newborn child is even mine. She only recently started to say, "I'm sorry," and act remorseful. But before that, during our conversations, she was monotoned, acting just like she didn't care. So please, just any advice would be helpful. I looked at everyone's comments on my post before, and they all virtually say the same thing. That I need to end it, that it won't be worth it to stay for the kids. So I have made up my mind that I won't try to get back with her. It's all still super hard seeing her every day. But last night I went to go talk to her, and I told her that I needed the truth on what happened. So she told me every last detail that I asked about. It was very hard night for me after that. But I think after hearing everything I know that it can't happen. That this is completely over. I guess there was a small part in my mind that wished there was some way I could forgive her and we could move past. But there's not. So she met him on a site and we were looking for a third person to experiment with. I don't know why, but our relationship wasn't the best at the time. Anyways, she said every time we would fight she would reach out to him to talk. After 1 month they met up for coffee, and after 2 months they started to have bedroom activity. She said it was sometimes once every couple of weeks or multiple times a week, and continued until she gave birth. 6 months of physical bedroom activity. She said the feeling started when they started going out on dates together. She said it was only 2 dates, but she claims she doesn't love him or ever said it to him. She lied to him as well. I reached out to him prior after I found him, and he claimed that she told him that we've been apart for over a year. She admitted to having some major problems, but she said that she needs to deal with those things and that she is going to get help from individual therapy. I believe everything she told me that night, but it was hard to listen to, but I do think I needed to hear it. Maybe for closure, I don't know. But after that conversation we started working out details of our co-parenting, child support, when we will have the kids, joint custody, and it all went very smoothly. We went around the apartment discussing what she was going to take when she moves out in a week, and what not to. Everything looks like it might work out being separate. But we kept talking and I am ashamed of what I did. But we ended up having bedroom activity. I don't know why it really happened, but I told her that it could never happen again. She told me that it could just be our last night and that would be it. I stayed over at the apartment last night, and it felt nice, but I'm still hurt over what she did to me when we were together. So I left in the morning and just felt like crap, because what she did to me wasn't okay. But I still have these stupid feelings. So I haven't been to work in 2 days now. I barely even want to eat. I'm only sleeping a couple hours a night, and I'm just miserable just sleeping in my sister's house. She's been a great support. Both of my sisters have been. But in 1 week she will have everything moved out of my apartment, and I can finally go back and switch out the locks. So I got both kids tested, and it came out to be 99% match on both the kids. I just got the results back in tonight, and my STI test came out all clear as well a couple days ago. My ex finally moved out in the middle of the week, so I am finally back home to an almost empty apartment. She cleaned out almost everything but the big things. She took all of my kids' most of their clothes, so I will have to go out and buy new everything. Both dressers and kitchen tables, and all small kitchen appliances. She moved into her grandparents' basement. I haven't seen my kids that much this week. She told me originally that she would be able to work with me and make sure I get to see my kids as much as I need to. But I saw my kids before last weekend and only saw my son on Monday. I just saw both of them today. But I mean that's almost a whole week without seeing them, and was only allowed to see them for 5 hours before giving them back to her. I was trying to work it out with her, so there wouldn't be as much money going into lawyers and custody battle. But I'm starting to realize that she is just not going to work with me, and this is how it's going to be if I don't fight her in court. So I'm probably just gonna have to put myself in debt and take out loans and stuff. But at least I can see my kids more. It's just been a super stressful week. I went and met with a therapist yesterday, but didn't really like her a whole bunch. Just didn't click. I think I'll go one more time next week to see if it gets any better. Still not really sleeping and eating, and been missing more work last week too. He absolutely must get a custody agreement in writing through the courts. He could draft one up and ask her to sign it and have a judge stamp it. That would be a minimal expense, but I doubt she'll make it that easy. But he could always get her to agree verbally. He should pull out court papers and say, let's get this official. I'm glad both of the kids are yours. Don't fret about the empty apartment. In time you will replace those items. I know you have been going through a traumatic experience, but you need to pull it together, man. Your children need you as much as you need them. I work night shift as well and know all about the challenges that go along with that shift. You need to prioritize getting to a day shift work schedule, whether that be with your current employer or getting a new job. You will need to be on the same schedule as your kids for when you do have them. I completely agree with getting a lawyer involved for custody rights. Unfortunately, as the mother of very young children, she is going to be the primary caregiver until you get a ruling from the courts. It's bad, but you will be at the mercy of her to get time with your kids until then. Envision what you would like to happen with visitation, and how you will be providing for and spending that time with your children. Then create a list of things that need to be done for you to reach those goals. Once this list is complete, start working on those, even if it's just one at a time. Some of those goals may take longer, like getting on day shift. Work your list. It will help you see you're making progress. I'm rooting for you. Just over 3 years ago, I found out my high school sweetheart wife was having an affair. I was absolutely devastated. She didn't break off the affair immediately and stayed at this person's house for 2 days whilst I was still overseas. She lied about the affair on every occasion with a sprinkle of truth in between. It took months for me to find out 60 to 75% of the story as she slowly drip-fed me information. Over that several-month period, my wife was of little help to me. She was a great wife outside of anything in the healing process, and this kept me hopeful that something would change. Eventually, we fell back into a normal routine, but I still had a lot of residual damage that remained. Later that year, my wife told me she was pregnant, and we welcomed our daughter into the world in late 2020. Things were great, but I still knew that these lingering feelings weren't going away, so I wrote my wife a letter. This letter explained everything from my perspective. It was over 8 pages long, and I wrote it over a period of months, deciding whether I would give it to her or not. Finally, a day came, and I couldn't help but want to give her the letter. We had just had a small fight, and I know it probably wasn't the best time for her to read it, but I did, and this was her response after asking her what she thought. "I feel really sorry for you." I left it at that in the hope that she would really understand my struggles, but instead, it was never spoken of again. Several months later, 2 months ago, I contracted an STD. My wife also came down with the same STD. This STD is lifelong, several months before she supposedly started the affair 2018. I know this is going to sound naive, but when my wife first contracted this STD, I believed I had given it to her. I had somewhat similar symptoms since I was a teenager, and had just assumed that I had passed it on to her eventually. In retrospect, this was stupid, and I should have been checked the moment my wife was confirmed to have contracted the STD. So after several hours of pleading with my wife to tell me the truth, she told me that the affair lasted longer than originally stated, and that she had bedroom activity with this man as a one-night stand several months earlier, and then started a full affair with him several months later. This is somewhat believable, as I looked over her phone records at the time and details of her location were freely available on her mobile phone bill. Her story does align. However, she shows many traits of a liar, such as not answering my question with a yes or no answer, blaming me for not getting over the affair, and tends to have many episodes of inappropriate yelling, etc. Upon finding out the second chapter of the affair, I laid it down bare to my wife and told her I need her to step up and really help me through this if she wants this relationship to survive. If not, we needed to separate. I asked for therapy, transparency, time to talk about the affair so I can lay it to rest, full accountability, understanding of my emotions, and for her to be proactive in helping me, such as reading books on infidelity recovery and infidelity PTSD. She didn't do any of these things on her own accord. It always required a push from me and a fight between to get anywhere. She did listen to a couple of podcasts, I believe, but nothing ever came of it, and her continual denial of helping me through this ensued. Our marriage has been a yo-yo for the last 2 months. I have to continually ask her to be proactive. Generally, the arguments start with me asking her to do better, and she gets her heckles up because she thinks that attending therapy and sending me an apologetic message maybe once or twice a week is all I should need. She has done bits and pieces throughout, so I do have to give her some credit, but a lot of it is what she wants. For instance, I asked her to write a letter outlining everything that happened over the 8 or so months, as she struggled to talk about it, and it was her suggestion. The letter took 3 weeks to write, and I started to really feel as though my wife was really putting in the effort to explain what happened during those months. Upon reading the letter, I immediately noticed it was short. The letter had 2 paragraphs about how she felt when she started the affair. We have spoken about this at length. 2 paragraphs about the storyline, which lasted 8 months, and 2 paragraphs of an apology. I was somewhat appreciative but pretty bummed. She could have put so much more detail in the letter about what happened. But I am now left with many unanswered questions. After all, that was the purpose of writing the letter. Admittedly, we have only been to therapy 3 times, and I find the therapist good. But the therapist also cheated on her husband many years ago. Some of the things she has said are contrary to my beliefs. For instance, I wanted my wife to provide phone records from before the affair had started to ensure that this is what she has explained. My wife refused, and the therapist agreed with my wife, stating, "And what good will that bring?" I was quite stunned. I thought the therapist would ask my wife to be fully transparent, so I don't have to live with the thought that my wife could possibly be a serial cheater. But that wasn't the case, and I'm still unsure whether this therapist is right for us. I would also like to clarify that my wife is still a great wife. She has agreed to spice up our life, which has been great. She is a great mother to our beautiful daughter, and she is just an all-round great partner. There has been no sign of any infidelity within the last 3 or so years, and I do believe without a shadow of a doubt that she is sorry for having an affair rather than dealing with our marital issues at the time. I am at the point where I want to give up. My wife believes that what she has provided and is currently providing is more than enough, and anything above that is crazy. So much so that she will probably end up walking away if I don't accept therapy and a message every so often apologizing for the things she has done. My wife is aware that I have PTSD from all of this. I have spoken to her at length about why I think I need the things I have asked for, but she pushes so hard on her line of what is appropriate that I am starting to think that maybe I am asking too much. I understand that it has been years, but I never got to heal initially, and facing a lifelong STD and finding out about a further betrayal recently has really put me into a bad headspace. The biggest mistake and poorest decision is what he is doing after discovering her betrayal, which is begging, pleading for evidence and the truth. She is no more his confidante, much less a wife, and almost an enemy, and every step should be towards ending the relationship. It's all about his personal humiliation and sunk cost fallacy and inability to do better than her. My shopkeeper cheats less while selling his goods.